What's up, everybody? Josh here, aka the Muggle of the show, aka one of your hosts tonight. Welcome to our live 100th episode celebration podcast extravaganza, live show, something. This is a weird night. It's going to be weird for a while. Thank you for watching. I'm joined, as always, by Matt, the Professor Sonnenberg. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Josh.
We are also joined by the man who is attempting to fill two sets of shoes in one. He is playing the role of not one, but two headmistresses. Hopefully he can do an adequate enough job to not have them yell at us tomorrow when they eventually hear this. Our community liaison, Brent Mulberry. Is that right?
Technically, that's what's on the birth certificate.
Okay. I was trying to remember your last name just off of like seeing it in random places. So
yeah. I don't think I've ever pronounced it verbally, really.
Yeah.
Yes, that is, by the way, why I dropped it for stage purposes and just go with my middle name, which is Alan. So, but hey, everybody out there, very happy to be here.
Sorry for doxing you on the live episode. I don't see how your emails are signed, so you know you have to give me some slack on that.
Well, it's all good.
A little bit. Anyway, Brett's joining us. We asked him to be a part of it since Marissa and Mel could not join us, sadly, because we are awful at planning things and could not plan it around when they were going to be with us. So Brent's going to step in. We asked him to kind of lead the discussion because, look, we've done 100 of these episodes plus a whole bunch of other extra shows. We're kind of just done thinking and talking for a night. And Brent's going to guide the conversation. He's going to speak for you guys, the community out there. He's going to be monitoring the chat situation much better than we can because we're going to be laser focused on the task at hand. Matt's all serious, all business tonight. So
all giveaways.
We have lots of giveaways tonight. This is our opportunity to kind of celebrate reaching 100 episodes in our show, Tales from Godric's Hollow. 100 episodes is a special milestone for a podcast. It's hard to do, especially hard to do with doing a podcast every single week. We've missed 1 week. One week in 100 episodes. We've had some tough weeks.
Yes, but as a fellow podcaster, and I don't know how many people out there watching live do their own podcast, guys, to go every single week is impressive. And what you guys don't do is you don't bank episodes. Right. You don't record like 8 in a row and then just schedule them to go out. And we know that because of the emails. You guys are coming back week after week after week, and you've got to deal with family vacations and sick time and all this stuff. Guys, it's impressive what you guys have done, what you guys have accomplished. That in 100 episodes to say you only missed one, forgiven, absolutely forgiven. However, let me point out, if you didn't miss that one, this would be the week, Josh, that you would actually be finishing the book.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, but it still end in a weird number. There'd be 101 finishing the book, which feels even more awkward than finishing on 102. So
there you go.
Yeah. Regardless,
unless of course we are Dalmatians.
It's true. It seemed weird and inappropriate to celebrate 100 episodes last week on the actual 100th episode, considering where we are in the book and where we are in the reading and all that good stuff. It didn't feel right to add, another hour of conversation onto a 4.5 hour podcast to kind of celebrate ourselves. So that's why we decided to do this extra little show for you guys. We could let our hair down a little bit and loosen up the ties and have a little bit more fun. Like Matt said, we're going to do a few giveaways, but we're basically kind of give this over to Brent and let him talk about what he wants to talk about, ask us what he wants to ask, be the voice of the community. kind of go from there. But first and foremost, I do want to say thank you to everybody that's joining us tonight and watching live. Thank you to everybody that's going to be listening to this. This will be available on the podcast feed probably tomorrow, just because I'm feeling gracious. I'm going to put it up early. I'm not going to make you guys wait for this. Might even be up tonight. Who knows? We'll see what happens. So thank you to everybody that listens to this and will have fun with us. We are going to have a giveaway that will be available to podcast listeners. So the ones that can't make it live will still have something to look forward to. But we do want to, thank everybody that's here live with us with a couple little giveaways for you guys as well. Also, specifically to the live audience here, I have not read this week's chapters yet. That has not happened. I plan on doing that when this show is over. So as much as I would like to talk to you guys about whatever it is that's about to happen and whatever it is that's about to crush my little heart into oblivion, I have no clue what's going on. So I am in good spirits. It's probably why I'm smiling. It's probably why I'm having fun tonight, because I haven't read what's about to happen. So keep that in mind in the chat. Brent will wave at you vigorously if he sees you getting close to spoiling something. But I trust you guys. You guys have got me along this far without ruining anything. So 2 more weeks, and then spoilers aplenty. Anyway,
I mean,
that's what I have.
There's not really going to be much left to spoil at that point, but
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything that people would have considered spoilers, I guess. Open conversation all the way around. Like, except with Cursed Child, I guess that's new, and I don't know what happens in that, or
that's down the line yet.
Is it? I'm kind of like eagerly anticipating just jumping right into that.
Here's what I have heard about Cursed Child. That is something it is way better to see on stage in the format that it was meant to be seen in,
sure,
than to read a script.
That's also what I've heard.
Yeah. So, what I might suggest, just to throw out there to you guys, who I know you're planning this awesome trip to Florida here soon. However, it is currently playing in New York on Broadway, and tickets are not that expensive. So just throwing it out there. You might consider it.
Matt, we were dangerously close to New York last weekend. Why did we not actually? Well, I know why, because I can't see it. I have. We're 3 weeks away from me being able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the problem with travel is it's not the tickets, it's not the airfare that gets really expensive. It's always the hotel. That's where they get you. That's expensive. So if we have free lodging in New York, maybe.
Friends out there?
Anybody?
Couches, floors, bathtubs.
It's a big community.
Yeah, there has to be somebody in New York.
Yeah.
I guess in a couple of weeks I'll be able to see it. So probably a good thing we didn't go watch that show. Probably.
Maybe.
Anyway, Matt, do you have anything to start off with before we kind of head this over to Brent here?
Not unless you want to start off with the giveaway.
Let's start off with the giveaway.
All right.
We have people in the chat. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
We have a whole bunch of people in the chat. Perfect. I want everybody in the chat room that's listening right now. I'll give everybody a good 30 seconds or so. I'm going to have Matt pick a number between 1 and 100. I feel like that's fitting. I want everybody in the chat room to go ahead and submit a guess as to which number they think Matt is thinking about. I will have Matt close the chat so he can't watch, so he can't be persuaded. You can go over. This isn't Price is Right. It's not the closest without going over. Just the closest to the number that Matt's thinking of will win a prize. I don't know what Matt has. So
we'll start off with the boy the series is all about. We got one of these pins that I think we've given away one set of before, but I
think we have, yeah.
This is a Harry Potter pin, PIN.
The only podcast where you have to make that distinction.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're getting some guesses in right now, Matt. We'll give everybody another 30 seconds or so to get their guesses in.
Mm-hmm.
Can I play this game?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you don't know what number Matt's guessing, so sure, go for it. If anybody calls shenanigans, though, you're gonna have to deal with them, Brent.
Well, we'll just say everybody can only win one prize tonight. So,
okay.
If he wins,
guys, my prize is just getting to be here with you guys. That's it.
Too kind. Okay, well, if everybody has their guesses in, looks like we have a whole mess of numbers flowing in. I think Brent made the last one, so if anybody's hearing this, you have like 5 seconds to get their guess in. If not, we're going to announce a winner here. Matt. Oh, we just got one last in. Ooh, yeah. So close. Okay, between numbers 1 and 100, Matt.
All right, we'll go 58.
58. Whew. Oh boy, you're gonna have to do some math on this one.
No, hey, Josh, that's the last person who actually got in. Karen.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Karen H came in with a guess of 50.
Yeah,
my math says that she is the closest. So, congratulations, Karen.
Yeah, only 2 over, and they're just barely farther away.
Yeah. Close. Congratulations, Karen. Thank you to everybody for guessing, and we'll have a few more throughout the night. We're just so everybody knows that that's in here. We're shooting for like an hour or so. Plan accordingly, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're not going to cut it off at an hour just because, but we're going to let the conversation go where it goes and have some fun with it. So, Brent, I'm gonna hand this steering wheel over to you, my friend, and let you take this where you want.
All right. Well, I will just remind everybody who is live with us in the chat room, guys, I am here for you. I'm here to be your voice. So if you've got questions along the way, things that pop up, things you want to ask, or maybe a little sentence or two to keep it fairly short, I'm here to read that and to get that over to Josh and Matt so that they can respond to that. So if you guys do that. But if you don't, I've got a whole list of things here that I want to talk about. And it just seems appropriate to me, guys, here in the 100th episode. For most of us have probably been around since the beginning. We know the story, but maybe there's some who don't. And I thought, let's just kind of take it all the way back to the beginning. And you guys just kind of recap for us. How did this whole thing get started? How did Tales from Godric's Hollow come into be?
Boy, it started about 34 years ago. And, how far do you want me to go back? No, I'm kidding. Well, I'll start, Matt, and then I'll let you kind of interject where you see fit. I did a show with another friend of ours, actually the guy that got married last weekend, called Toys for Games, and it was a very fun podcast. Matt was a regular contributor and special guest to the show. It started off as kind of a one-time thing, and then he just kind of kept hanging around and showing up and just having fun with us. So every once in a while, especially when Matt was on, but occasionally in email segments, and I will say this specifically, our friend Alex, Atari Alex,
that everybody should be familiar with.
Yes. He was a listener of that show, and he was notorious for doing this, which was dropping in Harry Potter references to emails. Other people would do it too. Matt would do it occasionally. Everybody made these references, not as a joke, but just, hey, Harry Potter is pop culture. Everybody should know this and understand this. I had no clue what anybody was ever talking about.
The worst part was that he didn't. Well, I actually, for a little while, we didn't realize that he wasn't getting them until there was like 1 or 2 that anybody who knew Harry Potter, if you made that reference at that point, there should have been some reaction. There should have been a laugh or something. And like, you didn't get that, did you?
Matt, I have a question for you about that specifically. Is there anything that you can remember specifically, like a reference that you guys threw out that completely flew over Josh's head that would have been a spoiler into something that we have read so far? As far as that, anything that sticks out in your memory that you're like, whoa, he didn't understand that.
That's a very good question. And for the life of me, I can't remember a specific instant. The only thing I can remember, and that did worry me a little bit, was the friend that he was doing the podcast with, Jason. He has this story about when he it must have been for like a book release or something. And I don't think he experienced it specifically, but it's been told time and time again. It's just become one of these anecdotes that people tell about Harry Potter. And it's like during the book release, and some guy, there's all these people waiting in line to pick up their book, and the guy drives by and yells, Snape kills Dumbledore. And Jason has told this story so many times. Like, I've heard him tell it many, many times. And I always wonder, like, if Josh, I can never remember if Josh was around and if he was paying attention, if it was being told directly to him, like, would he pick up on that? Because back then, I believe he was just at the point where if he didn't recognize necessarily all the names from Harry Potter even. So Snape, like Dumbledore maybe, but Snape is a little more, if you haven't read the series, you don't know the series. I think Dumbledore is an odd enough name that you kind of pick up on where it's from. But like I don't know if he put all that together, and if he just wouldn't have cared. Like you guys have seen throughout this series, throughout our 100 episodes now, like when he said something back in book 3. By the time we come to book 7, and it's like, do you remember when you said that? No. So I have a feeling it was something like that, because this would have been probably a good year before we even started this podcast.
Yeah.
So
I'm really good at hiding things when I don't know what somebody else is talking about and just going along with it. Like, yeah, because I don't want to dig further. Like, I'm just going to let you have that reference and we'll just move on. And also if it's something that I have no care for or desire to know more about, like, I will forget it instantly. It just, in one year, out the other, I got more things to think about and focus on. So the only thing I remember is that they were constant Harry Potter references. That once it got kind of known that I had no clue what Harry Potter was,
they definitely became more prevalent.
Yeah, but to my knowledge, my memory, I don't remember anybody like blatantly trying to spoil anything for me. It was just, we're going to make some obscure references because he's not going to know what we're talking about.
I don't think, to my recollection, I don't think they were spoilers per se. Like, I don't think they were like major plot points. It'd be more like a comment as to someone's character, or I'm not gonna be able to come up with a good example right now, but it's like,
you would just constantly refer to Josh as Muggle.
Sure, something like that.
It got to the point where Alex, our dear friend Alex, wrote in an email one week, and he's like, hey, so Josh knows nothing about Harry Potter. He doesn't believe that other people really care about this thing, and he probably isn't going to believe anything that we say about Harry Potter. But just for funsies, here's an entire list of all of these characters from Harry Potter, and it's his job to tell us which ones are fake and which one are real.
Yep.
And this went on. It was a long email. There were more names that I could ever even fathom being in a story, and I probably thought half of them were fake. Knowing Alex, looking back at it, I'm pretty sure all of those were actually legit characters in this story. I don't think he made up any of them. The one that I remember specifically from that email was Mad Eye Moody, and I was like, there is no way that's a real character. Like, I'm drawing the line at that. Like, that definitely did not happen in Harry Potter. So everybody kind of started piling on that I knew nothing about Harry Potter. Everybody kind of just went with it, acknowledged the fact that this is where I was. It got to the point where Matt and I and Jason were down in LA for E3, video game conference.
That's happening this weekend.
It's actually happening. It was 3 years ago. It would have been.
Yeah.
And we were going to go to Disneyland. We were going to spend one day at Universal Studios. I was like, cool. Matt and Jason, you guys were stoked to go to the Wizarding World. I'm like, I don't care at all. I'm just going to look, I'm happy that you guys are excited for this. I'm going to go. I'm going to drink some of this thing that you call butterbeer because it sounds pretty good. And like I remember asking you guys, like, what does it taste like? What the whatever. It sounds great, you know. But I committed that I will go with you guys and I will enjoy my time there, not knowing anything, not caring that I know anything, and just let you guys have your moment because you were excited about it. So we went, had fun. I drank butterbeer. I walked around that whole park. I knew nothing at all. We were standing in line for the ride that's in the castle.
Yep.
And you guys were, hey, what are their names? And I think it was the trio with Ron, Hermione, and Harry. And I knew Harry Potter. No way I knew the other two names.
We definitely try to like start quizzing you on just like super basic things, and it's like we're just gonna get a kick out of this. Yeah. But I remember getting around to like the memory bowl, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love that they put this in here, you know, right in Dumbledore's office and everything. And then I stopped myself. I'm like, he's not going to care at all. He's going to have, it's going to be too much effort to try to explain it to him. So yeah.
We were with a decent sized group too, that were all Harry Potter fans. Nobody even bothered to try to explain it. They're just like, this guy is a hopeless cause. Just let him have his own fun in whichever way he sees fit, which was me. Just drinking butterbeer, having fun.
Yeah.
So Josh, was this the trip that you decided to pick up a little wand?
Yes.
And turns out it was a Death Eater wand.
I knew from, it had to have been from an email, probably from Alex, that the wands pick the wizards. The wizards and witches don't pick the wands. So when we went to this wand shop, which I knew nothing about Ollivander or why it was a big deal, I'm like, whatever. And I'm looking at all these wands, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have fun with Matt here. I'm going to buy a wand and just see what he says. He didn't believe I was going to do it. And I was like, look, Matt, I can't help it, but this wand is speaking to me. I think this wand chose me and I need to buy it. And he's like, I don't even know what to do with you, man. I was like, you know what? I'm going for it. Val had actually asked me to buy her Hermione wand. So I was already buying a wand.
Yeah.
But I need one for myself. I need one to like have a memory from this crazy world that I was going to for the first time. So I picked up the Death Eater wand, and I don't think that was specific. Look, I got it because it looked cool. I don't know for sure
cool to a Death Eater
if it was actually speaking to me, and you know, it was a hot day. I feel like things were a little blurry at that point. I don't feel like that was the one that was shouting out my name now that I look back at it. But it's a cool looking wand, not gonna lie. One of the cooler looking ones. But yeah, so I
do you have it there? Can you show it to us? Do you have it like right around?
Yeah, let's Matt, continue from this. Try to wand without.
Let's see.
So go into how this turned into a podcast. From
that trip, actually.
It was actually that trip while we were walking through the park, I think, and like
hotel room. It was back in the hotel room.
Was it back in the hotel room? Mm-hmm. So yeah, because basically I knew Josh loved podcast, and at this point, the Toys for Games podcast was like his third or fourth podcast. I mean, many of them are defunct now, but like I just knew this guy loves to podcast, and I don't remember specifically if you said something about podcasting or if I said something to the effect of, well, if it were a podcast, no, I remember. I was just trying to get you to read the books.
Yep.
That was my goal. And so when, like I said,
what would it take for you to read the books?
Well, because I was trying to convince you that you didn't have to spend that much time doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look at all the podcasts you have and how much time you spend podcasting. And if you just, spent that much time per week that you do podcasting, reading the books, you could get through them in no time. And then it finally clicked. I'm like, wait, okay, what if we turn this into a podcast? Because I'm pretty sure you will podcast about anything.
Yep.
If you want Josh to do something, just turn it into a podcast.
So I was standing there in the hotel room. You're sitting on the bed, and I said, Matt, if you're serious about this, I will do it. We will start a podcast. We will read the books. This will be my time for reading the books. You tell me how this is going to go, and we'll make it happen. Yeah,
you had one stipulation that I remember is that you told me I had to find a good name for the podcast.
Yes,
then you would do
it. Because there's no way I was going to come up with a name for this podcast without knowing anything. And the last thing Matt wanted me to do was research about it and try to come up with names. I had a second stipulation, Matt.
Yeah.
If I didn't like the first book, I was done.
Also true. Yes. Yeah. You did tell me that you were just gonna.
I committed to the first book.
You only promised me the first book.
Yep.
Yes.
So Josh, at what point in reading that first book, because I actually came about with you guys in that first week when you guys did like a week's worth of, like, I don't know, it seemed like you were doing 2 episodes a day or something like that. I think you released an episode every day.
Yeah. I think we did 5 that first week. Yeah.
Well, the original plan was to do 5, but then I think we ran into some recording issues or something, or something along the line. So I think so. It ended up being we had 5 episodes within the first 2 weeks. I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get started.
So at what point, Josh? So I mean, that's a pretty quick set of time to get. At what point did you just kind of go, okay, I'm going the distance, I'm in?
I'd like to say from the beginning, but
I'd say that's a lie.
Yeah, no, totally. There was definitely a point where I was like, well, this book is going pretty quickly. Even if I don't like it, I could probably get through the series if it all continues at this pace. So I wasn't like committed emotionally at that point, but I was definitely thinking, man, I don't want to bail on Matt. Like I could probably stick with it just to see how this goes and see if it improves.
Did you know how thick the books got later on in the series?
I knew they got a little bit bigger, but again, like the pacing of that first book is so quick. It just flies. So I was like, this is going to be a breeze, even if I hate it. It was the Quirrell reveal where I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting from this book. This is
not a straightforward book anymore.
No, I was like, this has a different level of mystery and intrigue that I wasn't prepared for. And I think it was at that moment where I was like, I need to see where this goes, because if this is just the start of it, like it's probably going to get pretty good. So I think at that point is when I was like, yep, we're doing this. We're committed.
Awesome. I love that story. So you were just showing your wand a minute ago, Josh. And a couple people in the chat room are saying that it's the creepiest wand they've ever seen. You got a little skull skeleton on it. And Ovander in the chat room is saying he's imagining a mother taking her kid to Ollivanders and giving him a wand with a skull on it. I'm trying to imagine Ollivander making a wand with a skull on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the wand itself is like the body of a snake. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but that's a snake head. And like the snake goes all the way down. Like the whole wand is a snake. And then it has that really cool skeleton right here.
And that like really cool dead body. Yes.
And like looking at that,
call it a finger loop.
Yeah. But like this wand compared to every other wand there, I'm like, this is definitely standing out more than anything else. Like this is a different wand than I'm seeing. And I remember seeing the label. It just said Death Eater on it. I was like, I don't know what a Death Eater is, but that sounds pretty cool too. Like that sounds awesome.
Okay, so let's jump the timeline. Book 4, you finally find out what a Death Eater is.
Heart dropped.
I remember my email to you, which really, and I think everybody else's was, remember, the wand chooses the wizard. Your heart dropped. So talk about that moment right there.
I definitely was holding out hope that a Death Eater was a positive thing. It was like somebody that would combat death, that would, a fighter of death and darkness. Basically what a Patronus actually is, So finding out what a Death Eater was and like kind of where their allegiances lie, it sucked. I was like, that's awful. I don't how okay, first of all, how did Matt let me walk out of there with this thing? And then secondly, like, how come nobody like afterwards, like no Val, like she never said anything. She was like, why'd you get a Death Eater wand? I'm like, it looked cool. She was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I think I even used the line on her, like the wand chooses the wizard. And she's like,
because what? You were convinced.
Yeah. So that sucked. It sucked big time. Going back, there was definitely probably some other wands I'd choose before this one, but mistakes have been made along the way, and this is probably the first of them, first of many.
Well, Josh, I think the thing we can say is that as we've learned from the series, people don't necessarily stay with one particular wand for their entire life.
True.
And you will have a chance to revisit Ollivander's coming up here in just a few weeks.
Yeah.
Want to jump back to that moment where you're talking about with Quirrell, because people in the chat room have commented on that. Hannah said that your reaction to Quirrell was incredible. And Outnumbered Mama, gosh, I wish I could remember your actual name.
Taryn,
thank you. Taryn says that she can still hear your scream in her head.
Wow.
From that moment.
Frightening. So, I can't specifically say I remember my reaction because 100 episodes, we've had a lot of different reactions to a lot of different things. But I remember how impactful it was to me finding that out. So however I conveyed it on the podcast itself, like it was amplified big time the moment it happened in the reading. But, yeah.
So I think our next project is to start up the Tales from Godric's Hollow Twitch channel, in which we record Josh listening to the series and his reactions, because that's what Twitch is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. And I want to come back to that because we have some people asking about audiobooks and a second reading coming up. So I want to come back to that, but we'll push that off here till the end. Josh, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
And actually this kind of is for Matt too. And you think about this entire journey. So that got us started. Here we sit 100 episodes later. You guys are on the verge of recording episode 101. Next week is episode 102, which will be the finale of the book. The series, the entire series. Does not necessarily mean that the end of Tales from Godric's Hollow is upon us. You might even just say, this has just been the beginning. Right. But what has been most surprising to you guys about this journey? When you think back over 100 episodes, everything that's been included in this whole thing, what's surprised you guys the most?
Matt, I'll let you take that first.
I mean, I'm going to take the easy one. Is like, because Josh was so skeptical, like I was never quite 100% convinced that he would like the books enough to stick with them. Like we had kind of talked about it, like when we made it through like book 1, and it's like, yeah, we'll do book 2. Like I still in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, is he doing this just for me, or is he doing this because he likes it? And eventually it got to the point that, okay, he really does like it. He really does care about these characters. And I think that was the biggest surprise for me, just how hard you fell for some of these characters. Like, I think there are characters in this book that you care about so much more than I do. And not just like, the oddball characters that you latch on to for whatever reason, or the giant squid or anything like that.
Right.
But there are main characters, like, if they die, you take their death so much harder than I do. And I mean, it's just a difference in our characters.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that you did latch on, and you did get emotionally involved with this series. And as much as I expected you to like the books and like the series like the rest of us do, I guess I wasn't quite ready for how deeply attached you got to some of the characters in some of the moments.
Sure, that's fair. Like, I didn't even buy the books all at once. Like, it wasn't until book 4, I think, when I was like, okay, I'll buy the rest of them.
Yeah,
I was buying them one at a time just in case.
Yeah, well, because then you were buying the movies one at a time too, and you had found that new case, the new series of Blu-rays that they put out, which have different cases from what I have.
Yeah.
And then you told me one day, it's like, yeah, I like couldn't find the next one at Target or whatever. And so like, I just hunted down the rest of them and bought them all.
Yep.
Because you needed the complete collection of that style of movie.
It's interesting, just while you're on that, when you talk about Josh's reactions, Hannah in the chat room says that it has been validating for her to listen to Josh reading this book, because your emotional responses have been very similar to what hers were, whereas her best friends were a little bit more closer to Matt's. So just kind of, I guess, you guys have illustrated the range of emotions that Harry Potter fans on the entire spectrum can experience. So
sure. For me, like, my biggest, there's probably two. One of them is like what Matt was saying, like how emotionally invested I got into the story and the characters and the world itself. Like, you asked me 2 years ago if there was going to be times when I randomly think about Harry Potter just in my normal everyday life. It'd be like, no way. I'll think about it when I'm reading or when I'm recording about it, and then out of sight, out of mind. And that's totally not the case. And how emotionally invested I got into some characters. Cedric still kills me. Like, that's still one of the most brutal things that's happened, and I will never forgive.
So I still wonder about Cedric. Do you think you took it so hard because he was a Hufflepuff, like the first big Hufflepuff that we saw, and then he was gone, and you're a Hufflepuff, or was it just his death in general?
A little of both. I think there was definitely some connection, because I did the test really early on as to like which house I would fall into, and kind of got thrown in the Hufflepuffs.
And like you latched onto that Hufflepuff real quick. I know
it felt right, yeah. But up until that point, which you Ravenclaws could attest to, it kind of felt like the story was Gryffindor and Slytherin. Like, there's two other houses, but are they doing anything? Like, are they relevant to the story in any way, shape, or form? I don't know. So, like, when Cedric comes up, it's like, oh, that Hufflepuff is important for some reason, and they're pushing this character as somebody that's important to the story. Yeah, I'm going to latch onto that. But it was also the first death of a bad or of a good guy. And it was unexpected, and it came out of nowhere, and it just a whole combination of things really is what pushed the whole Cedric thing over for me. I will say, surprisingly though, the other biggest surprise about this whole thing, about this whole journey, 100 episodes in, honestly has been like the community response to this thing, because this started off with me doing this for Matt, me agreeing to podcast because that was my reward for reading the books. I was like, well, I get to do a podcast about it, so at least I'm getting something out of it, and Matt's getting the enjoyment of knowing that I'm reading, so he'll finally shut up about that. But I figured there'd be a few people that listen to the show, Alex specifically. But I was like, well, we'll have some carryover from people that listen to other podcasts that we do that might enjoy it. But
yeah, I remember in the early days, like anything we posted on Tales from Godric's Hollow, you retweeted with the Toys for Games Twitter account, which has like 10,000 followers. So yeah, sure. there was some trickle over, especially because like you said, what you found out eventually, like Harry Potter, the fandom is huge.
Yeah, that's the thing though. I wasn't expecting anybody to care about somebody reading the series for the first time. I was like, we're just going to be covering everything that everybody already knows. Why would anybody want to reread this with us? Why would anybody want to listen to somebody talking about something that they know nothing about as they experience it for the first time, not knowing that they won't be able to continue on until the next week, and it's going to be this long dragged out process? Why would anybody want to listen to that? And the response from the community as far as why anybody would want to listen to that, and it's definitely a thing that people want to listen to, has been mind-blowing. Like I get it now, but at the beginning it didn't make sense to me at all. Like I don't since then, I've heard from like so many people of like how special it is to experience somebody going through this for the first time, because everybody, from what I gather, kind of wishes that they could always go back and reread it for the very first time. As many times as you reread it now, it's never the same as the first time. And I get that now. Like I'm starting to get serious anxiety knowing that I'm 8 days away from never reading this series for the first time again. And as happy as I am about it, like that also really sucks because now I'm with you guys. Now I will never have that moments of surprise and excitement and wonder and imagination going into the next chapters. And granted, I've prolonged my reading much longer than most of you guys have done, but yeah, it's amazing to me that people, or it was amazing that people wanted to listen to somebody experiencing this for the first time.
Yeah, I think my biggest hope is that one day we're going to find another person like you, Josh, who's never read the book, and you get to take them, and you get to actually sit in our seat for the last 2 years while that person goes through. That'd be kind of cool. Not going to look for it right now. But, all right, moving on. Let's talk specifically about the novels. And I've got a question specifically to each of you. Josh, I'll start with you on this. What has been some of your favorite twists and turns about the story as you've kind of gone through? We're hearing kind of about the Quirrell twist, but what else kind of has done that? And then Matt, for you, so you can be thinking about this, what's been something that's where Josh just referenced this really slowed down reread? Has there been anything that you have picked up on, a long time Harry Potter fan? Anything new you may have picked up on just because of the real slowed down nature? But sure. Josh, I'll go with you first on surprising things about the novels themselves.
I could go the easy answer and say like the deaths, because I don't think I've seen any of them coming. Which
you didn't see Burbage coming. Come on.
I guess like the overall character developments and how different characters take kind of twists and turns as far as how we perceive them, how we're supposed to perceive them, and maybe what they are. I mean, Snape being like the most recognizable example, I think. He's far deeper of a character than we really knew up until last week. But like even man, like there's so many. Lupin, for example, like his whole journey trying to figure him out and what to think of him. Dumbledore has been like super mysterious. Like every time you think you understand him, something else pops up and it's like, well, he probably wasn't exactly how you thought he was because of this, and then because of this. The kids developing, I think, has been different because they're kids. They're still figuring out the world. Life is happening to them, as it goes, and their outlook on everything has changed continuously. But like the adult characters and how sometimes they're presented in one way, but then you kind of find out Sirius, that whole thing, we didn't know that he was a pretty good dude until towards the end of that. But then after his death, like now you start finding out like he was kind of a bully as a kid, so there's all this different layers that keep getting added on to characters that like continuously surprises me. So
all right, Matt, anything new from this slowed down version of the reread that has stuck out to you, jumped out to you?
So I can't really say there was much that specifically from the story that it felt new or that I had missed before too much. The biggest difference for me is just how I read the book, and the fact that now, okay, so we only take it 2 chapters at a time, but from the first 2 chapters of the book, I knew I was going to have to do this. Like I started taking notes, and at first it was just like, this is something I might want to talk about kind of thing. But eventually it grew into taking notes on either things I wanted Josh to take note of or things that I think Josh will point out. And so I started reading it differently in that respect. Like I started looking and noticing like all the Britishisms that are in there that I may have just, read in context before. And it's like, this is probably what it means, but I didn't really care to look it up. Now I do, because we bring them up on the podcast. If Josh doesn't ask about it, someone will ask about it in an email. So like I pay attention. I look that stuff up. I make notes about that stuff. And just other little twists, and like it's the little things that I know don't necessarily have anything to do with the main plot of the story, but it's like just a little world building mechanic, or another giant squid reference.
A new character.
That's true. I've never made a note of all the characters before. Like there probably were a few characters you could have mentioned that I would have gotten wrong if you asked me if they were Harry Potter characters or not. If they're just the Mary McDonald that we had 2 weeks ago. Like, yeah, that's a common enough name that doesn't have to be Harry Potter, but I guess that's the biggest difference for me this time through. Is it's not necessarily learning something new about the story itself, but just a closer examination of the writing.
Fair enough. Josh, just a couple of notes from the chat room where you were talking about kind of being at the end of the journey of the first time through. A couple of them pointing out, Laura says that Harry Potter is definitely a series you need to read more than once to fully enjoy it. And I guess now you kind of get to have that second read through at whatever point that you're going to do that. A couple other people say that, reading it a second time is even better than reading it the first time. So, sure. We'll certainly get to move on. I did have a question from the chat room, and I think it was Sarah who threw it in. It was actually quite up, who said she wants to hear a little bit more about Val and maybe some of the other people in your lives that have supported you guys through the making of this podcast over the last couple of years.
Okay. Val is my my live-in partner. We're not officially married. No legal binding contract between us. But been together almost 5 years now. Next week will be 5 years. She has supported me in every creative adventure I've ever gone on and wanted to do. But she's always just let me do my thing and stayed out of it. Going into the Harry Potter, she had read the first couple books, I think it was, but had seen all the movies several times. So she was familiar with at least the theatrical version of the story, which has all the major plot points added.
Debatable, but yes.
Yeah, most of the major plot points. The big moments, I guess. So she knew the main characters. She knew the basic story from start to finish. Like I said, she read the first couple books, but never got past that for whatever reasons, because life, I guess. So when I started this, I was like, I'm just going to read and I'll podcast. And I think I read the first 2 chapters or something by myself. And I was taking notes because I knew it was going to be tough to remember names, locations, and like specific things I wanted to ask Matt about, especially with like how we started the whole show. So I was like, man, okay, I have to take notes. This is what I have to do. So I tried reading the first couple chapters, and like I remember Val asking me like how it went. I was like, it was tough because I had to keep stopping to type, and I felt like I was disjointed a little bit with the reading. And she's like, well, how about I just read to you and then you could take notes? I'm like, would you want to do that? Like, is that something you want to sign up for? She's like, yeah, it'll be fun. Like, how bad could this be? So so she kind of made her commitment right then and there that as long as I was going to be doing this, she was going to be part of it. And she's been a trooper. Like she's been somebody that, as consistent as Matt and I have been with recording and doing this whole thing, she's done it every week right there with us. Like sometimes we've had to push reading back or do it earlier or whatever the case is, but week in and week out, I haven't had to do any of it myself because she's been there. So
yeah, to my recollection, yeah, she's read to you every week since you started, right?
Yeah. So
I know it's something we could never do on the podcast due to copyright reasons and stuff, but I think anyone in this community really wants is for Val to read them a chapter of Harry Potter.
Yeah,
we all want that.
We were going to do a special Butterbeer banter episode of her doing a bunch of the different voices that she does for the characters, because when she reads, she gets into it. And I think softball season started or something happened, and it never happened, but it's still going to happen eventually, because when she reads the characters, like she gets into them, especially like Luna and Trelawney specifically. She's fun to listen to and definitely has helped me get into the story much more. So yeah, something will happen with that.
You know what I think really needs to happen is we should make a Tales from Godric's Hollow meetup at the Oregon Zoo. And Val will come and read Harry Potter as we visit the animals, and Josh tells us their life history.
Yeah. I could be a tour guide of the magical creatures, and she could do different voices along the way. It'd be fun.
There you go. That's fine. Matt, and anyone on your side, people who've supported you guys, and I mean certainly spouses, significant others, but maybe even other people as well.
I mean, people, I don't know. I don't really have anyone that I can nail down and say specifically necessarily supports all my online endeavors. I do not like to speak ill of anyone, but I mean, my wife always kind of shrugs things off a little bit. It's like, okay, you do what you want. You do you. Like it's not her thing. Podcasts are not her thing. She doesn't get podcasts. Like she tells me, why would I want to listen to people talk for 2 hours? Like it's not her thing. She would rather work with power tools. I mean, honestly, sometimes while I'm recording podcasts, we had to make sure, you know, the sound barriers worked, but like she will be out in the garage with power tools while I'm podcasting, you know, that's what she does. That's why we take trips though sometimes too, is like because she wants to go scuba diving. That's her thing. But I guess she's not opposed to what I do. So, I mean, that's something.
She just stays out of the way.
Yeah. That, but that, like, this is my thing. And I understand that. The closest thing I have to support, I guess, would be like my dad. He has in recent years moved into the online space as much as I have. Well, minus the podcast, but he listens to podcasts. He understands podcasts. He understands the power of a podcast and why people do listen to them. And so I get to talk to him about that. But yeah, that it's really just my thing. People ask me from time to time how it's going and stuff, but it's usually more out of
small talk,
pleasantries than like they know that's what I do. And it's like, oh, I heard you have a second podcast now. It's like, yeah, I do. And, you know, I'll tell them about it, but it's not for them. I mean, Harry Potter at least is a topic that anyone in my family I talk to, they know Harry Potter and they love Harry Potter, or at least enjoy Harry Potter. Maybe not love it as much as I do, but they at least understand that more than, you know, the topics of my other podcasts. I'm like, but they know there's a connection there, so they want to talk about it.
All right, so moving on to a new question, and
time out.
This is more.
Sure. Nope. I'm calling time. Oh. We're gonna do another giveaway.
Good call.
It's been time. Matt, we still have some of those DA coins, right?
Yeah. I think I will. Here. For anyone who let's take it out of this shiny case, maybe just be able to see it a little better. So yeah, on the back, it's just like the standard galleon, but on the front, we got this fabulous logo designed.
Beautiful.
That's an amalgamation of the Hogwarts crest, but it does say Tales from Godric's Hollow on the bottom. And yes, Brent has one too. Which he promptly drops.
Here's what we're going to do for the people in the chat here. Matt, have you ever talked about, because I did a whole episode about discovering what my Patronus was. Have you ever talked about what yours was?
I want to say we mentioned it on the podcast somewhere.
Ooh, okay. Here's the thing. I don't know if we could guarantee that anybody would actually know what your Patronus animal is, Matt.
Okay.
But because we did a whole episode, we as in myself, and self-discovery about what my Patronus animal is, I want the person in the chat room, the first one to tell me what my Patronus was according to the Patronus test, they will get that DA coin. And that's something that we know people should know. Whereas I can't even tell you what your Patronus is, Matt.
Yeah, I remember what mine is because I thought it was a little bit odd, and that's what makes me think that we did mention it. But
I'm sure we did, but that might be tough for people to remember.
People.
So it's the first person who says yours.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
We have a winner.
I remember enough. Yeah.
Either that or everybody remembers it incorrectly.
No, everybody remembers it very correctly. It is a dolphin. Congratulations to Sarah. It looks like was the first one in the chat to put that up there. You guys are all awesome for remembering that. So congratulations, Sarah. Thank you to everybody for remembering that also. Pretty cool. Matt, what's yours though? Remind me.
I want to throw it out there and see if anyone does remember.
Do you have another coin to give away?
Sure. We'll give away another coin if anyone can pull it out.
If anybody can name what Mass Patronus animal is, they will get a coin as well. So we'll give people a few minutes to maybe think about that, think about it, see what happens.
Yeah,
before
they can work on that, and we'll let Brent continue then.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe let's do this a little rapid fire for you here, Josh.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So we'll just kind of go rapid fire. You just shoot them back to me, and we'll just kind of run through a couple of questions here. What? Who is your favorite character? So far in this
Hagrid.
series? Hagrid.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite character to hate?
Oh, the professor that shall not be named.
All right. What has been your favorite book so far?
Ooh, probably Goblet of Fire.
Least favorite book so far?
This one.
Favorite movie?
The last one that we watched, which was what, 6?
Half-Blood Prince?
Yeah.
Okay. Least favorite movie?
First one.
Favorite actor to play a character? And you can say whichever one you want, the actor's name or the character.
The guy that played Sluggy.
Okay.
Jim Broadbent. Okay.
Yeah.
And any character you think that was completely miscast?
Boy.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I have to think about that one too.
Padma Patil.
Okay. Petunia. Every time I see her, I don't think that's Aunt Petunia.
Okay.
Did what? I guess. Why do you think that?
I don't know. That's just not the image I have in my head.
Okay.
Yeah. Anytime I see her, I'm just like, oh, who is that? Oh, yeah. Okay. No, it doesn't work for me. I don't know why. Miss Weasley also.
Really?
Yeah. I don't see her being a Molly Weasley at all.
Huh.
I just want her to
She's
give me
great.
a
I mean, she does great at the character.
Yeah.
But I don't see her and think, oh, that's totally Molly Weasley.
All right.
Interesting.
Let's drag up something we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. Most painful death in the series for you?
Man, I'm still kind of mad about Lupin and Tonks.
Okay.
I haven't had closure on that one yet. So Dobby was pretty tough. Like, Cedric was big. Dumbledore was important. Sirius was important as well. More shocking than anything. Dobby though has been probably the most like crushing.
To be fair, Dobby was the one I was, I guess, worrying about the most for you, because I knew you had been attached to him. Maybe in part because I wasn't attached to him, kind of drew you closer to him, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every time you started like listing deaths, like you always like eventually when we got to Dobby, like you said, you didn't consider like non-humans, like. You didn't think about them dying in that. You might have said that when we got to Hedwig, actually, but
yeah,
like when you said that, and like you still never thought about Dobby, and like that's gonna suck. And then you went and named your dog Dobby, and I'm like, I don't know what that's gonna do.
Yeah, I didn't think JK would take away non-humans.
Yeah. All right, so let's go happy.
Yeah.
Favorite happy moment from the whole series. Something just made you smile.
Oh boy.
You don't have to say your favorite. Throw out a couple.
Ron and Hermione finally like having their moments in the sun. That was pretty good. That was a long time coming. That was forever. Tonks and Lupin. I think like just everybody, like all the ships, right, Matt? Like it's all about the shipping.
No, no, I will not. I will not.
Yeah. Man, there's been anything with the twins. Their moment when they kind of took out Dumbridge single-handedly with the fireworks and the swamp and everything like that was pretty awesome. Like that was a cool moment.
Thank you for remembering the swamp. One of my all-time favorite moments, and it's just lost in the movie. Like it doesn't happen. So like, so good, so good.
All right, and from your show, because this is not necessarily the books, do you have a favorite theory, Muggle theory, that you have had throughout the course of this show?
I mean, the obvious answer is Crookshanks, just because I refused to let that one go for so long. There's so many that like people give me credit for that it made up on a whim, or I completely forgot that I had said and didn't really have any attachment to. Crookshanks has to be the right answer on that one. I just wish it played out differently. Which is so can. I mean, there's 4 chapters left, right? So a lot can happen, Matt.
A lot can happen.
All right. Matt, has there been any favorite theory that Josh has had that sticks out to you?
That's I don't know if you call it a theory or not, but I think maybe it was just because it was the earliest thing that I can remember. It was Mrs. Fig, the crazy cat lady.
Okay.
And like he blurted out something along the lines like she's going to be important later, right? And I mean, it's 4 books later. Why? I'm pretty sure if JK didn't explicitly like recap who she was, like I wouldn't have known who she was when we got to that point in the series.
Yeah. And that was early on, before I really like understood how she was writing. I was just like, why did we spend so much time learning about this babysitter with all these cats down the road in the first book of the series? Like, that's so odd to me. Like, there's definitely something else going on with that lady. There has to be.
You see, and I didn't think it was all that weird. Like, I thought it was just, explaining more of Harry's life on Privet Drive. Like, it was just part of who or like how he grew up and what he had to deal with. And it's like, instead of going on these fabulous trips with the family, like he got stuck with crazy cat lady. And like, that's what he had to deal with. But no, Josh, you were right. There was something more to it. And she was there for a reason.
Yep.
All right, Matt, is there anything, kind of peel back the curtain, are there any moments that might have been, I don't want to say a freak out for you, but as far as like, man, Josh is going to figure this out, or, oh, he almost got that, or how does he not see that? Like anything like that you just kind of had to, we hear about those moments where you had to mute the microphone because you guys don't normally do a video chat like we're doing right now. Tell us about a time when you had to mute the microphone, and can you give us a picture? Like, do you stand up and stomp around the room? We can see you now. Show us a picture of what that looks like whenever you have to mute the microphone.
Well, you see, and that's the thing is most of the time I don't actually mute the microphone. Because I know I don't have a video going. Well, a couple things. One, I can't really stand up because I am tethered by these headphones. Like if I stand up with these headphones on, either my head gets a whiplash or the computer's coming down, and I don't want either of those to happen.
Okay.
So really, I just kind of lean back from the mic, and once in a while, I if I feel like being dramatic to myself, I'll like bite my fist, but even that's rare. I just kind of, it's not all that dramatic, I guess. I kind of just close my eyes and just, why Josh? Like some of the things, like I can't give you a specific one right now, but just it felt like some of the biggest surprises for me he picked up on. And I guess I have to hand it to him. Oh, yes. Yeah. 100%. I was not happy about that one because I I spent that by the time we got to book 6, and I was that much more invested than I would have been in, you know, book 1 or 2 or something. And it was the title of the book. It was a big deal. And I spent so much time by myself trying to figure that out. And I never got it.
Mm-hmm.
And
and Josh was sitting there going, "It's obvious. I know it's obvious. Yes. It's completely it's not. It could not be anyone else.
It's not obvious."
And Matt, I don't know if you know this, but Josh, I'm about to tell anybody. Josh sends out his little Outpost notes, and the one that I got that month was, "Come on, it's totally Snape, right? It's got to be. There's nobody else it can be. It's absolutely Snape."
Yeah, for anyone that's wondering, I have no idea what goes out in the Owl Post. That's completely Josh. I've never, except for like 1 or 2 people who have like taken a picture of one once. That's the closest I get to seeing what's in them. So, I like things like that. Like it did bother me because I could either like play it off as, you know, oh, maybe, or, you know, you might be onto something, but it could still twist. But it was one of those things that you just latched onto and would not let go. There was no way I could convince you of anything otherwise. Like I could tell you I could have just lied to your face and said, "Josh, no, it is not Snape. Get off of it," whether we're on air or not. And you wouldn't believe me at that point. Like you were hooked.
Yeah. I decided to latch onto that one. I was like, I'm going to go with this the rest of the book. And if I'm wrong, it's going to be the most epic failure of this podcast. But if I'm right, oh, it's going to drive Matt crazy. Oh, he's going to hate this so much. So I just went with it. I didn't want to waffle on it. I didn't want to go back and forth. I was just, I dedicated myself to that prediction and just wrote it out all the way through.
So. That's fun. Well, guys, we are actually over our hour. I know we said we're not going to stick to that exactly, but I do kind of want to turn the corner here for us and start to round out the show. So for everybody who's in the chat room, guys, if you have any unanswered questions, please go ahead and drop them in there. I will try to get to them. But speaking of unanswered questions, Josh, my question for you is what unanswered questions do you have left? Like what's still floating around in your brain, whether it's specific to the novel or you're holding up the golden snitch?
That hasn't come into play yet.
Oh, for the gift from Dumbledore, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So that's one thing that's lingering that I haven't forgotten about. I continuously think about, mainly because I sit here and play with this dumb thing every podcast, every episode. I'm sitting here playing with it for hours, and that hasn't been revealed. That hasn't been explained why it's important to the story. I'm fairly confident that it's not going to be just a dead end, and we'll never know the answer to that. I will be upset if that's the case.
Seeing as every other gift from Dumbledore has come into play already.
Yeah. So that's the lingering thing. The fate of many characters, I'm still curious about and hesitant to find out about. I mean, Hagrid specifically, but a lot of the other characters that we don't know the whereabouts right now. Those are like the two biggest things I could think of.
Is there anything that may not be like a key plot point, but like you're just maybe you can't wait to go look it up on Pottermore? Like, wait, how did that work? Or wait, how does that family tree? Like anything like that?
A lot of backstory with a lot of the smaller characters. I'm definitely interested in knowing about.
I feel like give me one small character specifically you're thinking.
Like Sluggy specifically. Okay. Like I definitely want to know more about that dude. He was a big role in one book, but I don't feel like I know much about him past that. I want to know more about the Weasleys. Arthur, like how he was when he was younger, or that kind of stuff. So just like these characters that I've kind of have got to know over the last couple years, I want to like really dig in. It feels like every week I ask Matt a question that he can't answer or won't answer until we're all done. Which I should have been writing all these down, but that'd be too smart. So I think just being able to go onto a Wikipedia page and just click every single thing that I see and just get lost in that black hole for like hours, that's what I'm looking forward to the most, of just following every little breadcrumb I possibly can.
Awesome. Well, but guys, before we go on, they just reminded me in the chat room, we do have a little bit of business to finish up.
Yeah,
Matt, your Patronus.
As far as I saw, no one has guessed it, so maybe we didn't cover it, or maybe it's just no one cared.
Well, let's talk about it now, since nobody won.
My Patronus is actually a hedgehog.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, of course it was.
I've at least told you, Josh.
Right. I can't say that was ever on the air. So I definitely remember hearing that and laughing about how funny it was. But
yeah.
Huh. Sorry, guys. Nobody cares, Matt.
All right. Let's see here. Josh, question from James in the chat room. What would you see if you looked into the mirror of Irasid?
Oh boy, what was the gimmick with that? Was it?
It was the desire, your heart's greatest desire.
Inner peace. I think that's one thing I have always strived to accomplish most of my life, is just being at peace with myself and my life and my decisions in life, and just being able to shut my brain down from anxiety and just be okay with the world. So yeah, that'd probably be it. I don't know how that would look in a mirror, but I don't know how to express that, but yeah.
All right. And then Matt, this kind of goes back to you a little bit. What are Josh was just talking about some of the things he wants to go check out after the series is over. And this kind of moves to, what does Tales from Godric's Hollow look like after 2 weeks from right now, or a week from, I don't know, week and a half, I guess it is really from right now. What are you looking forward to going back and diving into a little bit deeper with Josh on this? And, what does the future of Tales from Godric's Hollow kind of look like as far as you're thinking right now? I know it's not set in stone.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always said I have a couple things in mind. People have written in emails sometimes from time to time, which I occasionally reply to. Most people know I don't typically reply to emails that you send in, but occasionally, especially if it's something that either they've reiterated a few times or I've gotten a bunch of emails about, I will write back and say, I'm planning on talking about this later, but when we're done with the series. So like one of the things is like overall scope of the show. It'll be a little more on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis. We'll be picking out topics about different things, whether it be someone's backstory or something I do want to revisit a little bit is like or one topic I guess I'm really looking forward to that I've kind of been compiling pieces of as we go along, is like things that JK had originally planned for the series that she changed.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. It'll make more sense when we talk about it. And I think some people know a few of the things I'm talking about, but I don't want to spoil that for Josh right now. So, so there are little things like that I'm looking forward to, but it's really going to be kind of on a week-by-week basis, and I will be more than happy to take suggestions. I can't say I'll accept all of them, but I will definitely look to the community, this wonderful community that we built that is much larger than I ever anticipated. But since I know you all love writing in emails, I will gladly take suggestions on what you would like us to discuss or what you want to discuss and stuff like that. So like I feel like over the past 2 years, the community has gotten to know us as well. And I think you kind of know what we'll deal with well and what we'll be able to discuss well. And so I'm interested to see what you have in mind as well. But it's something that we're gonna. It'll take a lot of planning, I guess, more than we do now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because we don't have to read, that time is going to go into the planning and prep for whatever we do end up doing.
I will say, like, I kind of, and as you can see, Matt and I clearly haven't got this far. Like, we've been so focused on just finishing this run, and getting to Florida to celebrate and all that good stuff. Not that anybody's really excited to go to Florida, but you know what I mean. One thing I definitely like have in mind is, like, I want to do another read through of this series. Maybe we go a little bit faster than we did over the last 2 years. But I definitely want to, like, start rereading this quickly. I'm probably going to get audiobook form, so I won't make Val suffer again with having to read to me. But I'd like everybody to go along with that with me as well. So I think the discussions could be a little bit shorter because I won't be finding out things for the first time. I won't have to be theorizing about every single little detail. But another read through, I think, is definitely on our horizon.
So that's actually something that has been discussed several times tonight, and I'm glad to actually now be able to bring it up. The audiobooks. I have personally been going through the series via the audiobook, and I, for one, can't wait for this one to be done because I've been listening to the Jim Dale version, finally got my hands on the Stephen Fry version, and I can't wait to go back and do that one. Do you guys feel like we're going to do a second reread as a podcast, or is that just kind of everybody kind of go do that on your own, and you guys will do that on your own as well?
No, this is something we've kind of talked about a little bit, and just not necessarily specifically when. Like, I have it in my plans, and the biggest thing is I do want to remove the reread a little bit from the first read through. Like, I don't want to say, okay, we just finished Deathly Hallows Part 2, and now next week we're going to listen to chapters 1 through 3 of the audiobooks. Like, and I do think we will do the audiobook version. Like, we'll both get our hands on the audiobook, and we'll both listen to the same version, and we'll do it that way, and we'll do that as part of the podcast. Like you said, it'll probably go a little bit faster. It'll probably have less discussions because we know most of the things, but it is something that I do want to do. Originally, I was thinking waiting like 6 to 12 months, maybe. Now I'm thinking that's probably going to be a bit long, and Josh is really antsy to get through it again. So, I mean, maybe shorter, 2-3 months or something, but because we'll have content to put in there. Some things I do want to cover fairly quickly after this read through. Well, things are still fresh in his mind a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, then we can continue on with a reread somewhere in there. Yeah. And I think that will be the main focus of the show. Once we start doing that, it's not going to be like the reread isn't going to be a side project, I don't think.
Yeah. And one thing, like, in between, in that gray area in between the readings, if we're going to have a show about a certain topic, like, we will let everybody know what to expect that next week so that we could still get the emails. We could still get the participation from the community. We're not just going to be winging it for a couple months until we decide to start rereading. Like, we still want the show as it is to continue, but instead of covering a couple chapters, we're going to be covering something else. So everybody will know ahead of time what we're going to be talking about, what they want to chime in with, and that sort of thing. So whatever direction we go, everybody will still kind of be along with us, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll do my best. At least give you a week's notice. Like we'll tell you at the beginning or end of the previous show. It's like, this is what we're doing next week. We'll still probably do that regardless of how it's planned. But ideally, I want to plan it out at least like a month at a time, so I can I'll put it on the calendar or something again. It's like, so you can see what we're covering each week, so you can kind of plan ahead. And if you only want to listen to certain weeks or whatever, that's up to you. But yeah, that is something that we will try to keep you as informed as possible.
Yeah, I know, and I think I speak for a lot of the people in the community when I say that I'm really excited for the reread because this is when we know all the spoilers, we know everything, nothing's spoiled anymore, so we can start connecting all these little pieces. Oh, when she said this, it actually meant this, and when this happened, so we're excited. I think we're just as excited for the second read to go through with you on that one.
Yeah.
So we can have that experience yet again.
Yeah, I'm still gonna have all those cool moments. It'll just be a different sort of emotions tied to them.
Yeah, so should be good. All right, well, let's see here. Just want to check one time over here to make sure I'm not missing anything. And guys, if you're in the chat and I've missed something, this is your final call to throw it down there because I don't think I have, but just in case, throw it in there. You got like 30 seconds. But with that, guys, I'll give you a chance. I think this is it. We'll kind of wrap it up here. Any final thoughts as you guys are looking back on 100 episodes, guys? That is a milestone. That is huge in the podcasting world, especially. Josh, we'll start with you, and then Matt, we'll go over to you.
Well, first, before we get to that, I think Matt wants to do one more giveaway, a big, cool giveaway, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you want to do that?
That's a good question.
You want to do the numbers again?
Because
you want this one to be for the live audience, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I got another one for the non-live audience that I haven't told you about.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a big one for the live audience here because you guys have been awesome hanging with us. We are going to be going down to Florida, as you guys know, in about a month or so, month and a half, something.
Yeah, July 14th.
Right.
For anyone that's another question I have. Is anyone planning on joining us in Florida? Let me know in the chat.
Yeah.
July 14th through 19th. That's when we're planning on being down there. We'll be in the parks the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. The 14th and 19th are just travel days, but that's the easiest way to tell people when we're going to be there. So
Brent's joining us.
Yes, Brent is joining us. We know that much. I'm just curious if anybody else has made plans yet.
We have already hired him as our official Florida Gator Wrangler. So we will stay safe in the state of Florida as far as Gators are concerned. Everything else is
they actually make you take the test before you can get your Florida driver's license. The Gator wrestling test.
I laugh, but there's a slight chance that that's actually real. So anyway, we're going down to Florida. The whole point was this giveaway that I was about to announce and then got distracted. Matt wants to buy somebody a wand from Florida from the Wizarding World. Yep. So if you could make it there with us, Matt will just hand it to you right then and there. If you can't make it down to Florida with us, Matt will ship it to you when he gets home. But we want to give away.
I could probably ship it to you from the Wizarding World.
Probably. There's probably a way we'll figure that out. But a wand of your choice, because wands are very cool. And what better place to get it than from the Wizarding World itself. So everybody in the chats, once again, because we've done 100 episodes, pick a number between 1 and 100, and the closest one to whatever number Matt is thinking will be the winner. If you've already won tonight, you don't have to throw in a number. We appreciate your support regardless. But pick a number between 1 and 100. Matt will have that number in his head. I will be talking about something for a second while Brent manages the contest chat room. 100 episodes. It's crazy that we got to this point. It's bittersweet finishing this series. Like I said, I am kind of sad that I will never have the opportunity to read it for the first time, but I am incredibly thankful that I've had the opportunity to do so in the first place. And I couldn't thank Matt more for forcing me to do it, pushing me, kindly forcing me.
Forcing is pretty accurate.
Yeah, okay. It's something I laughed about, and
if anything, it's manipulation.
That's also true. No, it's something that I laughed about that I never took serious, that I definitely didn't understand. And it was never something that I wished I was a part of, which is the Harry Potter community. It's something I didn't care about. I didn't care either way if I was within the community or not. I am so incredibly grateful for Matt to get me to this point, but conversely, I'm also so thankful to everybody out there listening and watching and that's a part of this community for accepting me and welcome me in, because you guys could have just like shrugged me off as this total Harry Potter hater that had no business being a part of what you guys love and adore so much. And there's a lot of fandoms out there that people act as gatekeepers, and they don't they scoff at new people coming into something that they've loved for years and decades. Ask somebody to a longtime Star Trek fan, like, oh, I'm just getting into Star Trek because this new series, and you might get some hesitation from some people. Star Wars specifically, like we're seeing like some ugly stuff in that fandom right now. Every fandom has those gatekeepers, and I haven't seen that once with anybody in Harry Potter. Nobody has ever said, oh, you didn't read the books the first time, or you didn't bother watching the movies. Don't even bother. We don't watch you. You're not one of us. Like, nobody, tried to convince me not to go see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and to love it so much because I wasn't a true fan or I haven't been there from the beginning. Like, I haven't experienced that one single time. And I thank you to everybody for making that happen. It's been an honor and a pleasure to get this far with you guys.
Well said.
Yeah.
Matt, any let's do final thoughts from Matt, and then let's do the giveaway.
Perfect.
So Matt, any kind of final thoughts as you look back on 100 episodes here with Tales from Godric Solid?
I think it's just something I kind of touched on earlier. It's like, this community is something I never anticipated with this. I was 100% wholly prepared for Josh and I to go through podcast this entire series, and I really didn't care if anybody listened to it. My goal would have been accomplished getting Josh to read the series. Like honestly, that was my entire goal. That's all I cared about at the beginning. And it wasn't until, okay, I guess I could have assumed that Alex would have been listening the entire time because Alex, but that's something. Well, I think I have to kind of attribute that to Alex and being one of the first to writing consistent emails every week, and kind of, I think, encouraged others to do the same and realize that it was allowed.
Right.
I don't know if that's I don't remember if we asked for emails early on or not. I know eventually you kind of added it to your spiel at the end, but that's something that I never anticipated. I didn't expect to have a 2-hour long email segment. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for making this that much more enjoyable. Thank you for, I wouldn't have started making t-shirts. Josh got his, I got mine, the coins. Like, I never thought about doing any of that until I knew that we had a community and that this was like, there were people out there who would even consider buying podcast merchandise. I don't know what else you call it. So yeah, thank
Having
you.
Two headmistresses that support us ridiculously.
That is ridiculous. Yes. I have told them, I don't know if I've said it publicly, but when I set up that Patreon and set up that headmaster, headmistress level, I put that up there as a joke. I put it there because it fit thematically with what I was doing, the different levels. I'm like, well, I have to put headmaster up here, but I'm going to put it so high that no one's ever actually going to pay it. Well, I was wrong twice.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for the support.
I have to say, I have considered the Minister of Magic level which is even higher and even crazier. But I'm not.
That's true. That's true.
I love you guys, but no.
Check with the wife on that one first.
Yes, she would say no.
All right, let's do this giveaway, Matt.
All right. Well, the number, as you can see here in our private chat, which nobody knows about, is 77.
77.
Dun, dun, dun. And I'll go ahead and say it. Nailing it. Spot on. Nail on the head. The wand from Ollivanders is going to be going to Ovander.
No way. Really?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
There you go.
Congratulations, Ovander.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, if I may add a little looking back on 100 episodes words, guys, and I've seen this in the chat room a few times, so I feel very comfortable saying this on behalf of the entire community, because I am in that part of this. And we just want to say thank you guys to you two for doing this. I certainly know doing a podcast is not easy, and it does take work. And what it takes to put together a show, to format it right, to be able to talk and make it sound good and listenable and enjoyable. And then not only that, but to provide a way and open up a way for a community to form. I had that question, what's been most surprising to you about this journey? I think for all of us is really the community. You guys mentioned it yourselves, but for all of us, the community that's bumped up here, the friendships that we've all developed and we never would have met outside of Tales from Godric's Hollow. So thank you to Matt. Thank you to Josh for you guys doing this. This has truly been very, very enjoyable. And we're looking forward to another 100, couple hundred, whatever it's going to wind up being, guys. We're certainly looking forward to what's next because, finishing the books is just the first step. There's a lot more to come, I'm sure, from Tales from Godric's Hollow.
Yeah. We got 4 more movies at least to talk about. We got to stay on the air long enough to cover those. So
that's a long way away.
I don't care. I'm dedicated.
All right.
And we'll talk about those movies, Matt. One last thing. I want to do one more giveaway, and this is the giveaway that I promised for everybody involved. This isn't just the live chat, but this is going to be for everybody out there listening on whatever podcast service you tend to enjoy these shows from. Brent's mentioned it. We've talked about it many times. I am definitely, as much as I am, it seemed like I was definitely to the earth to never have read. There are other people out there. There has to be. I don't know where they are. I don't know how to find them, but they are out there. So this is more of a challenge than a contest. But I want everybody out there listening to find someone that hasn't read Harry Potter that will be willing to, for like the next level for this show, but just somebody out there that's going to be willing to read the series for the very first time. Somebody that's maybe been resistant to it, maybe somebody that's never even heard about it. Whatever the case is, everybody out there probably knows at least one person, right? So I'm going to give everybody a couple weeks to find that person that's willing to commit to doing it. And then I want you, once you found that person, to write in an email, talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com. And let's see, by the end of June. So by July 1st, Sunday, July 1st, I'll have your email in saying who the person is that's going to be reading for the first time. Maybe a little backstory as to why they haven't read, what's kept them from reading. But this is the honor system. Once you find somebody that's willing to read and they've committed to you, from all those emails that we get, we will pick a winner and they will receive a full collection of the books to help that person get started with it. Because everybody has books that they could lend out. Everybody has a library or whatever, but this will be something to thank you guys for going out and recruiting more people to read these books, because Matt did it to me, and I feel like we should pay that forward and get more people out there to read these, because they are special, and everybody here knows why they're special, and we're going to push that So there's that.
I like it. Yeah, that reminds me of I just found out this weekend or last weekend when I was at my aunt and uncle's house. I found out when they bought Harry Potter books, they always bought 3 copies. One was for their house, one was for their neighbor who liked to read them as well, but they always just picked it up for them. And then the third copy was specifically so they could lend it to people.
Cool.
That's how they did it. They wanted to share it.
Josh, we have a little bit of a question of clarification. What if you have somebody who's only ever watched the movies but never read the books? Does that person count?
Yes, still counts. Specifically, people that have not read the books. If they have knowledge, they've watched the movies, that's totally cool, because I think we can all agree that there is plenty in the books that don't make it to the movies that are worth reading, especially once through. So yeah, that totally still counts. We're not trying to find completely, fresh people that have never had anything spoiled or anything like that. It's just
Muggles.
Yeah. There's something special about reading the books, even if they've seen the movie. And Val could attest to that. Like she's experiencing things that she never got through the movies. So
Mm-hmm.
Totally everything is okay as far as that's concerned. So yeah.
All right.
Brett, thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Hey guys, it has been absolutely my pleasure to get here to kind of represent the community, to field some of those questions, and guys, just to look back on 100 episodes. It's I, like a lot of people, have been with you every step of the way, and we're all excited. Like, we're here on the precipice, and Josh, we know what's getting ready to happen. You'll find out what's getting ready to happen pretty much as soon as we hang up here. And
5 minutes, I'm reading some chapters. So
yeah,
it's gonna be
like
exciting.
we're watching Twitter to see those emojis. But yeah, we're excited, man, and I am super stoked to get to be a part of it as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you to everybody in the chat that's watching and being part of this live. Thank you to everybody that's listening. Brent, where could people say hi to you? Where can they follow you at on Twitter and stuff? And you have some podcasts and everything. Like,
yeah,
plug your stuff, man. You've earned it.
Sure. If you guys want to check me out, I am across all the social medias at Brent Allen Live. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Brent Allen Live. You guys can find me there. If you enjoy the sound of my voice and want to hear more of these dulcet tones, if you like the NFL, we talk a lot about sports ball here on Tales from Godric's Hollow. I run a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan podcast. That is we're going into our 3rd season. It's been a super blast. We're starting to ramp into the season now, and then we have a couple of other ones, but a new one. You mentioned Star Trek just a few minutes ago, Josh. We have a brand new Star Trek podcast that is out. It's going through all the processes with iTunes to get put up over there, but it's called Star Trek: The Essentials, and the whole premise of that is, if you have somebody who's never really seen Star Trek, what are the key episodes they should watch? Cool. And why those episodes? You're not going to watch 741 other episodes, but what do you really got to get a feel of what Star Trek's really about? That's what this particular podcast is about. So you guys can check me out over there as well.
Cool. Well, thank you. Man, this has been a fun night. I'm glad we did this separate than our regular show. I will definitely say that. Yeah, it was the right decision on our part, as much as it was poorly scheduled, rescheduled, moved around, and didn't get our headmistresses on. This worked out for the best. So thank you to everybody that was a part of it. You can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise, that's with a Y. You can follow the show, which you should be, on Twitter at Tales from GH. You can follow the Instagram account, Tales from Godric's Hollow. The Facebook page, where the headmistresses do most of their best work, facebook.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Let's see, the website, talesfromgodricshollow.com, has the schedule, has the merchandise shop, has the show notes, which our friend Brent has been a big part of recently, which we haven't really announced. But he's helped a lot with that. So I do want to give him credit for that. Again, that's talesfromgodricshollow.com. And finally, if you'd like to support us and everything that we do for you guys, the community, all these giveaways and everything, you could do so over on Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt, where can the people find you, my friend?
You can always find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Otherwise, for all things email related, any emails for the show, emails for the giveaways, anything you want to come up with that you can't talk to Josh about just quite yet, talesfromgodrichollow@gmail.com.
That being said, it's been a fantastic 100 episodes. It's been a magical 100 episodes. Like Brent said, look forward to many, many more episodes. But for now, Muggle out.